Welcome to the Mommy Collective. I'm Paulina Rowe, radio host, TV contributor, writer, and mom of one. This is where ambitious moms come to keep their identity intact while navigating motherhood. Here we talk about the real stuff: career, money, relationships, identity, and everything that gets messy in between. You won't find sugarcoating or cliches. What you will find are unfiltered conversations, real resources, and proof that you don't have to lose yourself to be a good mom. The Mommy Collective is here to remind you can be ambitious, you can take up space, and you can thrive in motherhood and in everything else that makes you, you. Before we get into the episode, make sure you're following the Mommy Collective on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, and share this podcast with a mommy in your life who needs a little inspiration, or just a reminder that she's killing it. Also, don't forget to sign up for our newsletter and leave us a review so we can keep showing up and reach every ambitious mom out there doing big things. Let's get into it. I'm so excited to chat with my guest today. I have community builder and entrepreneur Anna Flores. How are you today?
I am doing great. I'm so happy to be here with you.
I'm so excited to be here. So I came across, I've been knowing who you are for like a minute now, but I came across your profile and I was like, you to me represent the Mommy Collective so well, right? Which is the ambitious mom who is, really like, is all in motherhood, but is also all in herself, meaning it can be business, career, whatever it is, right? Because I feel like every mom is so like built so different. It's kind of like Build-A-Bear. Like we're all just like different because I feel like some moms, like they're like, the 9-to-5 moms, which we have so many of those in the community, right? The career moms, we've got entrepreneur moms. I guess a little media mom, right? I do radio and TV here in Chicago. So like every mom is built so different. And I think the one thing that I have come to see in common a lot is that at the end of the day, like we wear the motherhood hat like so proudly. And it's like the biggest part of who we are. But I love connecting with moms who always knew they wanted more, you know what I mean, and wanted to still continue to grow and thrive, and whatever that means and however that looks for you, I think is so cool. So I saw your Instagram the other day too, and I was like, oh my God, Anna's like doing it. So first and foremost, I would love for you to sort of tell us about yourself, kind of like what you do, and I know there's a lot that has happened for you as well this year, but kind of what you do and why it's so important.
Ooh, such a big question, because even like what I do, I feel continues to shift and pivot and take on whole new dimensions all the time. Well, originally, I am a content creator. I actually studied college as a TV producer. So I have been creating content for the Latino market since I started my first job out of college in Univision Network in Miami in the late 90s.
Wow.
So I'm going to date myself. So I'll just go ahead and say I'm 53.
Love it.
No shame in my age. Like I love being the age I am, but we can talk about that later and what that brings. I've always been a content creator, and I was actually working in LA, had just arrived in LA, had been here for 2 years with my ex-husband now, when I was working at Mundos, which is now NBC Universo, so creating content for Latino youth, when I got pregnant and I became a mom. And for those of you that remember, 2000, my daughter was born 2007, 2008 was when the recession really hit. And in LA, we also had a writer's strike. Back in 2008, which pretty much shut down the city. So I had quit to be a full-time mom because as you were describing right now, I think motherhood doesn't define us as individuals, but it does bring a certain type of, obviously motherhood just brings that wanting to protect your child, wanting to be there for them, and at the same time figure out how are you going to do that while you're still nurturing and tending to your own ambitions and to your own wholeness. But I knew that I wanted to at least dedicate 2 years to being that stay-at-home mom, and those first 2 precious years be able to be with her. We were able to do that.
Love it.
But within months of me not returning for my maternity leave, the recession really impacted our home, and my husband lost all of his clients.
Oh.
And there we were, pretty broke, like I've never experienced before, with a baby at home, living off of our savings, realizing that there are really no support for parents and mothers in this government. And like, there's really not subsidies to support us through these transitions. And that's when I discovered the world of mom blogging. And I started a blog with a friend called Spanglish Baby for parents raising bilingual, bicultural kids. This was back in 2009. So pretty much the OG mom blogger.
Yep.
And now many years later, almost what? So many years later, 15 years later, in between, I created the first network called We All Grow Latina. Back then it was called Latina Bloggers Connect. It was the very first network to connect Latina bloggers with brands, the very first network in the world. So that really started emerging and changing a lot as the industry changed. It's really long story, but to make it short, at the end of the day, what it really became, it became a place where Latina women found a safe place to be themselves, to connect authentically, to grow in partnership and in amigahood and friendship. That's what we called our community, amigahood, where we could really find other women that we could connect to, that would understand the many identities that we have to show up to the table with, right? The many things that create our character that either limit us and or, right, are that those things that may limit us, we realize are actually our superpowers as Latinas. But we need that mirror within each other to do that. And that's what We All Grow became, with our motto, when one grows, we all grow. And I sold the company a few months ago. Early in the year, it was a bit of a fire sale thanks to the DEI executive orders happening. So to finish responding to your question, I am now really focused on my book. I have a book coming out next year with Harper One. It is called Done with the Hustle, a manifesto for women who don't have the luxury to rest.
So much to unpack and so much.
I know. I wanted to give it all at once.
I love it. I love it. I love it. So first and foremost, yeah, I mean, you've been a hustler since day one. So I can already see that in you as far as, you know, somebody who's wanted to connect people, somebody who's wanted to bring Latinas together. And the We All Grow community, like, I'm a part of it. And like even like this, like the newsletter, as simple as that might be, like to someone like me, that made me feel very seen and connected, you know. And I also do believe that like any mom or honestly any woman who wants to connect with others, especially like Latinas, right, Latina moms, I think that platform is so important, because growing up, like, I don't remember, and I'm 30, how old am I? 33, I don't even know how old I am sometimes. Like, I swear, I'm like, I don't know how old I am. I don't remember really being in like high school, college, or even like my early start in my 20s of my career, having a space like that, or knowing of a space like that, right, where I was able to connect with others. Because I don't know, like, to be honest, I just remember like hearing and seeing boys clubs, right? Or hearing, because I'm not really in that scene, but like typically like affluent white men, right? So it's like they have their connections, their groups, whatever it might be, and they're golfing, they're doing that. Like most of the time, like us, you know, women, Latinas, like, first of all, we don't even have the time for that, or the, like, you know what I mean? The resources, the money, the time, there's so much. Like, right. And I'm like, well, then how do I like meet people like me? How do I connect with others like me who can make me feel seen and heard? And like, you know, even if I'm looking for like a freaking job recommendation, right, or just like a lead on something, like, where can I go for that? So that's why I always thought your community that you created was so important. Like, I just think it's incredible. So first and foremost, I want to kind of dive into the creation behind it. Do you remember, was there like a moment that you were like, okay, like, we all grow Latina, like we got to make this a thing? Like, was there a moment that kind of came to you? Like, what was the inspo behind it? I know the blogger part, which was so interesting. But what made you wake up and go, I'm doing this?
So Latina Bloggers Connect really, gosh, that was 2010. So I actually was already creating groups of Latina bloggers for us to come together to try to figure out what this space we had just become so obsessed with was about, and how could we figure it out so we could monetize, so we could continue doing what we were all doing, right? And at the time, I'm talking like, there wasn't that many Latina bloggers. There was maybe 100 or less, and we had a Facebook group. And there was this one moment where I received an email from a frozen fish brand that was pitching me. Obviously, you know, back then, PR agencies and marketing agencies were also trying to figure out what to do with bloggers, especially mom bloggers. Mom bloggers were really the ones that set the tone in working with brands. And we were really the first ones to start doing it in a very professional way. And this frozen fish brand pitched me, and it was a pitch just, you know, to write about their frozen fish. And I was like, okay, I'll do it, but it's going to cost you $40. it was so hard for me to send that reply, like to say, I am going to charge you to do, first of all, I wouldn't write about your frozen fish unless you paid me, right? And I'll figure out a way, because I could make, a recipe that goes, like, it always had to make, I had to make sure that it aligned with the editorial line that we had with Spanglish Baby. So culture, language, anything that had to do with that. So I could definitely do like how to make fish tacos, for para tus niños. And it was fine. So they replied yes. When they replied yes, it was like everything changed for me, because I was like, wait, we actually can monetize that. And I had been seeing that the white mom bloggers and the black mom bloggers, whom were all opening the doors for me, they were my mentors. They were already starting to do it. So I grabbed that email. I went to our Facebook group that we had, que se llamaba Hermanas Blogueras, that I had started. And I told them, hey, I got this pitch and this is what I replied. And I got paid $40. Two other mom bloggers, Latina bloggers, had also received the pitch, and they were like, oh, let me try. So they replied the same thing, and they also got $40.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, there's something here, like, right? If I was able to do this and I can share it with them and then they can do it, there's a beautiful ripple effect. I was like, what if this, I can actually do what the white and black mom bloggers were already doing? They were starting these networks where they were actually the intermediary with the brands, bringing these campaigns and helping those marketers understand how to actually talk to us and how to work with bloggers, because they really didn't know.
Right.
So that was my first intro. I was like, wait, I can actually do this. So I just put together a Google form. I put together a website with a friend. I bought the URL Latina Bloggers Connect. I had no money. I was doing it on my own. I went to a conference called Blog Her in New York, announced it then, and put out a blog post that said, when one grows, we all grow. If you're a Latina blogger and you want to work with brands, sign up here. And I had about 100 sign up within a week. And within a month, we had our first campaign with Sprint. And then it just did not stop. But it was that moment of like, let me see if I can get this, right? And seeing the validation of it, and then realizing like, why not me?
100% agree. Well, that's such a cool story. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh. So like, I love too how you were able to see there was something bigger there. You're like, hold on, like, let's, you know what I mean? Like, I got my $40 and then you flipped it and reversed it and you made something so much bigger. And I think that's awesome. So, okay, when you sort of created that, did motherhood have any kind of influence on that decision as well? I know you were talking about the bloggers, but I'm assuming yes, because of the baby blog that you had, right? So was every decision, like, as a mom, was that kind of something that, would come to the back of the mind? Because I've noticed as a mom, every decision I make.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. And I know that every decision that I was making was, how can I create a lifestyle that allows me to never miss an important moment with my daughter, that allows me to have ownership of my time, and that will give me limitless possibilities as how much I can monetize, right? I always felt in the corporate environment that I had this ubiquitous, glass ceiling. I didn't even know it was a glass ceiling back then. I just always felt that there was only I could only go so far, that my ideas would always be met with, the corporate, bureaucratic red tape that you have to go through. And I'm not really good at the bureaucracy. I am very much of like a free, like, just let me try. And if I fail, I fail. But those are bigger stakes when you're failing within those environments. Whereas I could just fail. I could send an email and be rejected, and it was okay, right? And so those were my decision. I want to be able to create from a place of freedom, from a place of, if I feel and I see and I know in my gut that there's something that can be done here, I want to have the opportunity to do that. And I want to have the opportunity to also create the time and space that I need to be the mother that I want to be. Now, as an entrepreneur, it's possible. I've never missed an important moment for my daughter till this date. Wow. I did travel a lot. There was a lot that I had to sacrifice as far as my own well-being to be able to make everything happen. Because once you become an entrepreneur, that is also your responsibility. your business, your team, your clients, the way you're showing up, etc. So what ends up happening for a lot of us is that we start sacrificing our own well-being to be able to do it all.
No, that's very real. So do you feel like the do it all thing is just not really achievable or possible? Because I don't know how I feel about it. I'm 1 year into motherhood, and I don't know if I can do it all. I think I'm just doing different things at different times. That's what I always say.
Yeah, well, listen, I had my daughter in the, I think within the years of the girl boss era. You know, with like, we were entering the girl boss era, which really came around, I feel, with Instagram and TikTok and e-commerce.
Right.
The moment that women realized that we had so many tools to our disposition to be able to create the life that we want and put our dreams in motion, then a lot of things started shifting, because so many of us, right, beautifully, thankfully, had the opportunity to monetize our dreams. We could do it just by, you know, having an amazing, if you're really good at marketing, really good at creating community, and you're really good at creating content, then you can hop on Instagram, you can hop on TikTok, put out a product, market the hell out of it, and be really successful. We didn't have those opportunities before, and that's beautiful. The thing is that we were still entering a structure that has been created and a systems that still exist in a very patriarchal, linear definition of success. And that linear definition of success that we had to assimilate to be able to fit into the metrics of, oh yes, I'm successful. I am getting all the media hits. I am getting all these, you know, this unicorn valuation by VCs. I need to go and get an angel investment. I need to go. You start seeing all of these metrics of what you're supposed to be doing to be a successful entrepreneur, or even to be a successful in the corporate environment, right? You're supposed to constantly be climbing, instead of what are the rhythms that life is asking of you in every single moment. When do we actually feel successful? When it's not external, but it's internal. Maybe having that beautiful morning with your child. Well, she needed an extra hour to stay in bed with you. Instead of you rushing to that 9 a.m. Zoom, maybe that is a beautiful moment of success, because you're creating a core memory with her that will nurture her life, right?
Of course.
And so many of those moments I feel I had to push aside because I was in that girl boss mentality that I had to keep up. The competitiveness, even though, yes, we can all function together, we exist in a world that's competitive because there's only so many resources to go around for women, and there's only so many resources to go around for what is now known as DEI, or was multicultural back then. So it's difficult, right, to say I can have it all. I think we can. We just maybe need to redefine what having it all means to us. What does success mean to us?
I agree with that wholeheartedly, because I feel like, again, like, you know, maybe every mom's definition might be different, or just every person's definition is like, you know, what is it that I want? Or like, what era, I hate that word, but like, I'm going to say it. What era am I in? Right. And it's like, okay, this or that. But I do think, you know, I know you look back at it as, you know, the girl boss culture era, which very much was real. It's still around, but I know for a fact it was the hotness at one point. But I think that's a testament, though, to like the type of like entrepreneur you are and mother you are, that you were able to do both, even during such a crazy, chaotic time, you know? So kudos to you. And I know you said your daughter just turned 18. So that's incredible. Like, I love this, because I always say that I want my daughter and I to be very close when, you know, as she grows and, you know, grows into the woman that she's going to become. But do you ever talk to your daughter about like entrepreneurship? I know you mentioned she wants to do acting. Is that something that like, you know, you kind of like encourage her, or like stay the hell away?
No, actually, I encourage her, but she wants nothing to do with it because she's seen me.
Right.
And she's like, I don't want to go through all this shit that you've had to go through. I mean, she's seen all of the ups and downs, and she's been affected by the ups and downs, by like our life at one moment, you know, being up here financially and all of it, to then being like, oh my God, Camila, we're going to have to like strap in, and like, it's hard right now. This is a hard year, right? I sold the company. It was a fire sale. I'm still in debt. We're still going through a lot. It's a pivot. I say it freely because I think we have to honor the reality, and I don't want to sell the glossy girl boss either, right? We All Grow gave Camila and myself, and so did Spanglish Baby, gave us an abundant life that I am so grateful for. Like, all the women around me, all the opportunities that we had, that influencer life that I had for many years, right? She benefited from it. She saw all the gifts and all the abundance and all of that came in. So I have no regrets for what we did, but it is hard to be an entrepreneur, and it does take a special type of resilience to be able to weather the waves, right? Because the world is not linear. Life is not linear. Life is always a series of waves, that sine wave, right? You're going to have the peaks. When you're at the peak, you're like, okay, just let me start being a little bit more flojita, like, loosen myself up, because I know that eventually the down is going to come. And then we learn to navigate that. And I think that is the beauty when we say that entrepreneurship is spiritual, because you learn and you grow so much through seeing who you are and witnessing yourself through all of the challenges, tribulations, the moments of, the beautiful moments of where you're glowing, where you want to make sure that your ego isn't taking over, right? At the end of the day, staying true to your values, your vision. So I feel that even though she doesn't want to be an entrepreneur, she has been able to learn so much from the life that we have navigated, and being an actor. And that's what I keep telling her. I'm like, being an actor is being an entrepreneur.
100%. Because she's got to
it's working for yourself.
Right. You got to show up for yourself, right? Because I'm assuming auditions or casting calls, whatever that might look like. And then obviously once you get the role, preparing for the role, right? So there's it's honestly, it kind of is like running your own business. Like, you are the boss of your own self.
Yeah. You don't have steady income, right? You have to constantly be navigating denial, having doors closed on you, and then doors wide open, and then there's a lot that goes with it. So I feel she's learned a lot from this entrepreneurship journey, and she's been sitting at the We All Grow audience since day one, since 2005. So she was 9 years old the first time she sat there and was seeing on stage these women being incredibly raw and sharing their stories. We had an event that was a marquee event that closed the 3 days of our summit, and it was called Storytellers. So it was, think of The Moth, but Latina. So it's storytelling hours. So it was 6 Latinas that we would get over 200 applications that would have to apply to come on stage and share. There's an anecdote. During 8 minutes, they had to share an anecdote. We would always cry. It was either laugh out loud and cry, but it was always mocos, ugly cry. And because everybody was just being so real and so raw, and this was a place to feel safe to share those stories. And she's experienced every single one of those. So think about that. When we think about how us growing up, I grew up in El Salvador, where yes, I was, surrounded by Latinos, Salvadoreños, and between El Salvador and Houston, because my dad lives in Houston, that's where I was born. And I was always back and forth, but I didn't have a role model of the women that represented the type of ambition that I even had early on, that I just always felt different, because I was different. I was bilingual, I was bicultural. So I couldn't fit in 100% in El Salvador, and I couldn't fit in 100% in Houston.
Oh yeah.
So me seeing my daughter that she has, and now that our daughter, our children, have the role models that we never had. And I know that in itself has already created a different type of life experience for her. And so many, I want to hope that so many cycles that I have been able to break for her, and that the collective of Latinas have been able to break for her and for her generation.
For sure. I think she's so lucky to have been able to witness that front row since she was 9. I think that is such a cool experience for her. You know what I mean? It's I think it's one of the coolest things that as a mother, you can present to your daughter, right? To be a part of at like such a young age. So I think that's so cool. So have you ever felt, if there was a moment that you can think back of at any point of your career, right? Even in the Miami days or when We All Grow Latina was starting and everything, or any part, did you ever feel like you were underestimated as an entrepreneur? Did you ever feel like people were really trying it with you at one point?
I think I underestimated myself as an entrepreneur.
Why?
I think
Why
I
so?
underestimated myself. I can't say that in any moment, if anybody underestimated me, is because that's what I was reflecting and mirroring back to them. Most people would actually come to me and be like, do you know you're sitting on a gold mine? Do you see who you are? Do you see what the potential is? Do you like, that's always been how people kind of approach me, because I don't think I ever fully grasped and understood what I was doing.
Wow.
And the impact that I was having in the moment. So I always underestimated myself. And in a way, I'm grateful for that, because I was able to approach it really from a day to day. Like, this is what is coming out of me. This is what I am capable of at this moment. And this is what I feel I need to bring to the world, to the community, to my day to day. I wish I would have had a lot more confidence in my ability since day one. And I wish I would have spoken up for myself and for my team and for us for my budgets, for everything, a lot more. I do come from a generation of calladita te ves más bonita, and very much so. And that is one of the biggest cycles and biggest patterns I'm trying to break. There's so many things that are intergenerational. There's so many things that are just passed down from one generation to the next via the amniotic fluid, via the DNA, via our cells that are just imprinted. That are just imprinted. And I think that is one of those. And so, yes, so many times I wish I would have spoken up, but I'm learning. And asking for help has been one of the hardest parts.
It's never too late to learn. And I call a recovering people pleaser. Because, oh boy, would I please the shit out of everybody except myself.
Yep.
So I have like completely learned that is a no-no now that I have a child, and now that I have a daughter on top of that, and even just like, a kid, it's like a little girl. There's so many things that I look at my daughter and I'm like, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that. We are speaking up. It's so generational, like you said, completely. And personally, like, I think that's so amazing that you are, like, as small as that might be, right? And to some people it might not be small, some people it might be a bigger thing, but like as small as asking a question, and maybe they made that mistake by accident. Like, that's the thing too. It's like I try to tell myself, it's like, people are human, they're gonna make errors, but you have to speak up for yourself. And I have learned that nobody else will. And that's the one thing I'm practicing so hard on right now, just because I know my daughter is behind me watching. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'm really happy you share that story, because I think it's so relatable. And to be completely honest, at age 33, I don't even know if I would have said anything either. So it's like a good reminder.
Exactly. I know.
Such a reminder of like, no, like, we're going to speak up. We're going to ask the question.
Yeah. And again, they might be like, oh my goodness, thank you. Like, I totally forgot. Yes. Right. But it's so hard for us because we want to be liked. We really want to be liked.
Yeah, that is really true. Like, I don't want to be reprimanded, right? I don't want to be anything. I just want to be liked. Growing up, I always felt like I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be kind of in the background, if anything, right? Like, I was always a loudmouth, and as I became older, I call myself a loudmouth broad, because I just like say what comes to mind or whatever. But I'm like, no, like, I mean, obviously I'm respectful, but I'm like, no, like, we're going to ask the questions. We're going to take up space, all of that, like you said. So I think that's so cool. I love that. And now, what advice would you give to any mom? Because we were talking earlier kind of about like the balance of like having it all, right? So there's a mom listening right now who, is a parent, a mother, and then obviously is in business, right? What kind of advice would you give her who feels that she has to kind of choose between like ambition and then again being present for her daughter? And I think you're the perfect person to ask.
I would say to her to choose herself first.
Love it.
Every day, choose yourself first. That means choosing your ambition. That means choosing your daughter. That means the moment that you choose yourself, you connect with something that's much more powerful, that will give you the right answers of where you need to be showing up at every moment. There's a moment to show up for your ambition. There's a moment to show up for your child. There's a moment, but you're always showing up for yourself first. That's what's going to feed, and that's what's going to nurture you. And that's what's going to inform how you show up for the world at every single moment.
I think that's great advice. And I always say,
and it starts small. Sorry, like I don't even want to, because sometimes that might feel like so much, especially in the turbulent times that we're living in. I don't think anybody can say that the last few years have not been easy, in one way or another. But it's really small moments. It's tiny moments. It's moments of saying, the moment that I wake up, I'm going to take 5 minutes while I'm still in bed, while nobody knows that I'm up and can ask anything of me. I will take 5 minutes just to breathe, just to hug myself, just to try to remember what was happening in my dreams, that sacred moment that belongs only to you.
Right.
And trying to find those little sacred moments to devote to yourself is the most important thing that you can do for yourself to even create more expansion and more expansiveness in your day. It really starts, it trickles from there. Everything shifts and everything changes.
100%. And what about, before we wrap up, I want to dive into your book, but before we do, as far as success, right? What does success look like for you today, now, versus whether it's 5, 10, 15 years ago when you first started, right? We all grow. Like, what does success look like to you today as we're talking right now, July 11th, 2025?
Freedom. Ooh. It's freedom. It's freedom. It's freedom of choice. Success is definitely freedom of choice. Success is feeling safe. Success is feeling that every word that comes out of me comes with intention, comes with very embodied and aligned truth, and being able to spread that in every interaction that I have with the world.
I love it. And it's so I don't know, earned. I don't know how to explain it, but I just think like you're in such a really cool part of your life now. Just hearing your story and like, you're quite literally an OG blogger for like the Latina space. Like that's crazy. You know what I mean? And people like who are listening, like, and if you're a Gen Z, you might not really remember that era, but it was a time. A time was had.
It was a time. It was a time. Gosh, it was crazy how the brands they really showed up for us. We were little celebrities, little stars. I mean, the opportunities that we got during those times were unheard of.
So incredible. And like, yeah, it's definitely shifted. And I'm so curious too, where it's all going to go in the next, like 15, 20 years. There's always like a new thing, a new platform, obviously social media, right? Like blogging is the OG, and then like everything else just kind of came from there. So I always think about the future. I'm like, I wonder what that's going to look like, even podcasting. Like 10 years ago, if we were doing this 10 years ago, we would be revolutionary because it was just so new, So I think it's so cool to see. Yeah. It's awesome.
What's cool to see right now? It's Substack. So I launched my Substack earlier this year, and I felt like I was going back to those original mom blogging days because the difference when we started seeing the world through short form, how it became a lot more performative, right? So when we started seeing it through everything, just the 60-second reel, the 15, 20-second, 3-minute TikTok, all these short form, the carousel, etc., just made it much more performative in the way that you had to show up and just following all these trends. Well, whereas like podcast and Substack and the blog like really allow you to build community from a different place and to create content where it's really more of this storytelling. Like I feel that the deepness of the storytelling is gone. And these platforms are reviving it, are bringing it back. And in Substack, I've seen all of my OG mom bloggers, the famous white, black Latinas, the Asian Link, all of us are gravitating towards that platform because it's allowing us to do that again. to just write.
Cool. Yeah, no, I've heard
Like
of
the
it.
art of writing. Mm-hmm.
Essentially, yeah. And like, do you feel like that's also like a great way for you today to kind of go back to those roots, express yourself,
Yeah.
in that way? It gives you the creative outlets. I feel like, I mean, once you're like a blogger, like you don't just like stop, you know what I mean? Like the lifestyle blogging and like the parenting, like that kind of stays with you. I feel like that's something I did
Yeah.
like years ago when I was in college. I think like to graduate or something, one of my classes, I had to create like a blog or something. And this was like new.
Awesome.
I know. But it's like something that I still carry with me, and I've been thinking about like messing with it again. Like the Mommy Collective has a blog on the website. That's kind of my creative outlet. It's something I kind of just feel like it's always going to be with me. It's something I love.
It always comes back. So for me, it's been so refreshing because I lost my voice through entrepreneurship, right? Once it all started with a blog, it all started with writing, and once Latina Bloggers Connect / became We All Grow 6 years in, it really demanded that all of my time go into managing a team, writing proposals, writing contracts, being on calls and meetings and Zooms, traveling all of the time, and then showing up as a spokesperson for every single Latino cause for many years, because there wasn't so many of us that were out there with the community of that scale. So I was being asked to talk about politics, to talk about representation, to talk, name it. COVID, all of it. It was showing up, and I felt the responsibility of showing up because as a small team, as a small company, small, I'm talking, we even to a point had 25 people. So you also become a coach, a leader, all of that. The last thing I could do was sit down and write. Because for me, the process of writing is very much nurtured through the creative process of living and what I'm experiencing in life and what I'm receiving and almost downloading, and then the space that I get myself in to channel that through, to write these stories, to share what I feel needs to go out through me into the world. I wasn't able to do that anymore because I was having to wear all these hats. My voice had to consistently be shifting to what I was supposed to be doing to show up for the team, because me being out there meant that I would give visibility to the brands so that the brands would continue coming in to want to work with us. So even that is another part of the girl boss kind of era, entrepreneurship era, where this whole personality CEO, that the CEO not only has to manage a team, but also has to be a visible, external, very extroverted personality. And all of that really compartmentalized my voice into so many places that I just was not able to write anymore. I wasn't.
Interesting. Well, definitely when we wrap up, I want to ask where we can find your Substack, because I think it's like such a cool thing to be able to to still tap into. I'm sure there's going to be so much more that comes from that too, but I really quickly want to talk about your book. So when does it come out, and what's the inspo behind it? Like, what made you feel like, okay, this is what I need to write about?
So it'll be coming out spring 2026. I am about to turn in the manuscript, so let's hope. It's with Harper One in English, and it's coming out at the same time with HarperCollins Espanol and Spanish. It was really important to me that it came out of both languages at the same time, so that was the deal I got. It was like a deal breaker for me. I needed to make sure that it came out in both languages because that is my identity and that is my community. And like I said, it's done with the hustle. And I really say it's a manifesto, and it's an invitation for all of us who really want to reimagine a different way forward. The hustle is going to be part of our life always. It's an energy that we need to carry through certain moments of our life to get certain projects done, to get through certain, high stake moments where everything's coming to us. But with the invitation is to know that there is also the toxic hustle that we inadvertently have become part of because the systems that we exist in, capitalism, patriarchy, etc., demand that we show up in a certain way where keeping us exhausted is by design. And when you look at it at the collective level, and especially what's happening right now in our country specifically, keeping us exhausted, keeping us divided, keeping us tired is a way to keep you disengaged, disinformed, and keep you in fear and keep you below the line in a place where you're constantly reactive, where you're disengaged, disassociated from yourself, and you're just reacting to everything that's being thrown at us nonstop. And that is by design. Everything is being thrown at us nonstop so that we just don't have access to our own internal peace and our own internal world. And if we don't have access to our rest, to our peace, how can we expect that the world is going to show up with peace? So we have to find and we have to prioritize the way that we show up in the world, where the hustle is a choice, and so is the choice to show up for ourselves and to understand that, as Trisha Hersey, which I highly recommend her book is called Rest is Resistance. She's the Nap Ministry on Instagram and various other platforms. She calls herself the Nap Bishop. But she really comes from an academic, very activist point of view that rest is resistance. So we owe that to ourselves. So it's an invitation. It's a mindset shift of how can we start showing up in a different way so that we are rested, we're showing up for ourselves, we're showing up for our kids, we're showing up for our business, for our jobs, etc. So I'm really excited because this book has been writing me. It's taken a few years to really get through all of the chapters and everything, because each chapter has really been written from a place of embodiment. One thing that is really important for me, one of the highest values in my life, is integrity and congruence. So if you hear me talking about something, it's because I'm either living through it, I'm embodying it, but it's just not something I learned in a book. It's something that I have experienced and now I'm ready to share with you. And this is what this book represents for me.
100%. I'm so excited to read it. So spring 2026, we will look out for that. And I think it couldn't come at a better time, to be honest, because I think we're in a whole, I think we're in a whole different, we're on the opposite side of girl boss era now. You know what I mean? I think like it's still like, you know, just because we're Latinos or Latinas and like it's just in our blood, but like we're grinders, we're hustlers at heart. But I know that, we can achieve these goals and actually like be rested, right? And actually like spend time with our kids. Like there is something there. There is substance there. So I'm so excited. So really quickly, where can we follow you on Instagram or connect with you? And then where can we find your Substack?
So Instagram, Threads, Ana Flores _me. And Substack, the publication is donewiththehustle.substack.com. And my personal profile is Ana Flores Writes.
I love it.
And I'd love to connect with you there.
Yes, I love it. I'm going to start a Substack now because now I'm inspired too. I've been playing with it like a little bit, you know, like teasing, like should I not?
Yeah.
But I think that's so cool. So cool. Thank you, Ana, for being here with us today. We appreciate you.
Thank you for the invitation.